Am I wrong for telling my niece the family secret? I, 35 female, had two older sisters growing up, Jane and Kim. Kim got sick and died, but not before giving birth to my niece, Laura, 18 female. It had been a year after Kim's passing when Jane and Laura's dad, Tom, 42 male, confessed to dating and were now engaged. Bro, I don't understand. I never understand sisters going after the same guy. Especially after they have a baby together. That's so weird. That's so nasty. I accused them of cheating. Jane and Tom explained that this wasn't something they had planned, but there was no cheating and knew that Kim would want them to be happy. Yeah, but not with each other. You can be happy with someone else. Convenient since she's, dead. I did not attend the wedding and was super upset at how everyone else was so accepting of the relationship. But the thing that hurt me the most was how Jane and Tom intended to completely erase Kim and Laura's life. She was barely 2 when Kim died, and they decided it would be better if Laura thought Jane was her mother in every sense of the word after the adoption was finalized. Tom got rid of any items that would suggest he and Kim were ever in a relationship and made his family swear to never tell Laura the truth. Jane expected everyone on our side of the family to do the same, but I refused, and as such, I was denied access to Laura. It hurt, but when I thought about all those times Kim cried, knowing that she wouldn't live long enough to see Laura grow up, there was just no way I could honor the lie. They even had Laura's name illegally changed to something that Jane liked, as Kim picked out Laura's first name. I distanced myself from my family over time over this, but my parents always tried to get us to reconcile, citing that they didn't like this arrangement either, but accepting it was better than not being a part of Laura's life at all. I just couldn't do it. Growing up, Laura had known of me, but we never really interacted. Apparently, she's interested in studying a field that I work in and reached out to me through social media. The last time I saw her, she was 7, and I started to tear up about how much she looked like him. We would talk from time to time, and eventually Laura asked why I wasn't around. I tried to keep it vague, but Laura knew that there was more to the story, as I didn't seem like the person I was described to be. If we had been talking through DMs like before, I probably wouldn't have done it, but we were video chatting, and something about looking directly into her eyes broke me, and I confessed to everything. Before Kim died, she and I made a series of videos for Laura to watch at her big moments, and I told her that if she ever wanted to watch any of them, I'd send them. Laura asked me to send some, and then I heard nothing from her for days. Recently, I got a call from an enraged Jane and Tom berating me for ruining their family. After Laura watched some of the videos, she confronted my parents, who confirmed everything. Laura has moved out and currently not speaking to anyone, and no one knows where she is right now. Everyone is angry at me. So, am I the asshole? Let me clarify some things. My parents talked about Kim and had pictures of her in the house, so Laura knew who she was. She just didn't know that Kim gave birth to her. Am I wrong for proposing to my girlfriend at my brother's wedding and posting it on social media? My brother and his wife got married last week. It was a big beach wedding with about 100 people. While the bride and groom were doing their photo shoot that took an hour, the guests were walking down the beach, having some snacks that were served, talking to each other, etc. My girlfriend and I have been together for 10 years and have a kid together. Marriage just never came up, and we're both really not the romantic type. When our son was born, I jokingly told her I'd propose to her on a beach at sunset someday. So after the wedding, we were walking down the beach. We were all alone. No one was paying us any attention because there were about 100 people there. I just asked her, so beach, sunset, will you marry me? She said yes. We had a good laugh, took a selfie together, and slowly walked back to the site of the reception. We haven't told anyone we are getting married yet. It will be a courthouse wedding anyway. 2 days ago, my girlfriend posted that selfie on her social media, tagged me and wrote a caption, "Finally marrying the love of my life," and a sunset beach proposal. Now, everyone who knows us knew it was a sarcastic caption and knew it was more of a joking post than anything else. My brother and his wife called us very upset hours after that post. My sister-in-law said we ridiculed their wedding with our post. My brother said I'm an asshole for proposing at someone else's wedding. But I didn't really, so am I the asshole?
I, Jane, 21, was one of Vanessa's 21-3 bridesmaids, and her wedding was held at a remote lodge venue up in a mountain. When everyone got to the lodge, we did a drive-run of the ceremony and surveyed the place. I assumed that the men would go to their cabin and the women would go to ours, and we'd relax before the wedding. Instead, the men immediately headed to the liquor store, and the groom and the bride's mothers began ordering the bridesmaids to move furniture into the place. That night, the women did everything from dragging 250 chairs out of the shed and setting them up, to hauling furniture down 2 flights of stairs and positioning it in other places. Since I was the tallest and strongest person in the group, it was mostly on me to haul the larger pieces around, and the mother and mother-in-law of the bride largely stood around talking about details with her. I asked repeatedly if the groom and groomsmen could be called to help, but was told that we didn't want to bother them and that they're out unwinding before the big day. The father of the bride has a heart condition, and the father-in-law was much older and walking with a cane, so he couldn't help out either. At the end of 2 very sweaty hours, I had splinters, blisters, and was covered in sweat, but everything was set up. During the wedding, I learned that the bride and groom were trying to avoid all of the setup and takedown fees from the venue. The groom's mother condescendingly patted me on the arm and said that everything would be okay because Jane's our workhorse. After a bit more conversation, I found out that the plan was for the bride and groom to leave and then the bridesmaids and groomsmen to stick around and doing everything from cleaning up the trash to moving the furniture back to where we'd gotten it. Toward the end of the party, almost everyone had left, and I realized that the two groomsmen were so drunk that they were going to be useless, and it would again be on the bridesmaids to clean up and put all the furniture back up the stairs. I went to tell the bride goodbye. Judging from her slightly panicked expression and the, "Oh, you're leaving? You're leaving now?" questions, I realized that she definitely expected me to move the furniture back, but didn't want to say anything while surrounded by people. So I left, and my phone was blowing up as I was driving down the mountain. The other bridesmaids were texting me, and Vanessa's mother left me an angry voicemail about how I was bailing on my duties as a bridesmaid. The next day, I woke up to a massive paragraph from Vanessa that said it was my fault they had to pay the $500 cleanup fee because they weren't able to get everything put back in time. Am I the asshole for leaving a wedding early as a bridesmaid and causing the wedding to get charged $500 for a cleanup fee? My mom passed away last year, so now it's just me, 15, my sister, 19, brother, 14, and dad, 43. My parents got together when they were in school, and they've stayed together all their life. They were amazing parents and basically had the perfect love life before my mom got sick. I always wanted to find a love like them, just the one person I would be with all my life. I was always really close with her and miss her so much. My dad said the same and promised that he'd never love anyone else like he loved her. However, my dad came to us last week and talked to us saying that he wanted to get with our aunt. She's been helping since mom died. We spent a lot of time with her and our cousins. Apparently, dad and her fell in love now and want to be together. Obviously, I was furious and told him that he couldn't and that he would be betraying my mom. My brother agreed with me, but our sister thinks it's okay somehow and tried to get us to listen to dad's betrayal. My dad promised my mom that he wouldn't get with someone else. If it was someone new he found, then maybe I could forgive him, but it was my mom's sister. My mom would never accept it. I would never date my sister's partner. It's disgusting. He's just betraying her in a horrible way. And what about our cousins? Are they going to be our siblings now? It's all so weird and wrong. My dad tried to talk to me about it, but he won't really listen and he thinks it's fine. If he really loved my mom, then he would never do this. I told him that he's not my dad anymore if he cares more about sex than mom and have just refused to talk to him anymore. I want nothing to do with him and I don't care if it hurts him. He deserves it. My sister keeps telling me that I'm being unfair and selfish and to give dad and aunt a chance on this. But he made my mom a promise and there's no way breaking it with her sister is right. Am I the asshole for not accepting my dad dating my aunt after my mom died?
Am I the asshole for refusing to let my future husband lie about the house he and I purchased during his groom speech? My fiance and I got engaged a few months ago. We're getting married soon and invitations were already sent out. Right now, we're focusing on much smaller details. We've also been busy moving into our new home that we purchased together. 30% of his savings and 70% of mine. Saving up for the house took up most of my savings and prevented me from enjoying the things I love spending money on. Anyways, my fiance sat me down yesterday to talk about his groom speech. He asked if it would be okay if he mentions the house we bought and says that he was the one that bought it. I asked why. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my future husband lie about the house he and I purchased during his groom speech? He said it's just a confidence boost during the speech and that's it. I said I didn't feel comfortable with the idea because I think it's unfair not to acknowledge the fact that I'd sacrificed so much. I reminded him of how much I contributed, but he said that doesn't change that it's our house, so it shouldn't matter. I refused because then people will always think the house was bought by him and it's something that will never change. He got mad at me and said that I was really overthinking the whole thing and making a big deal out of it. He yelled that it's just one favor and I'm making the small request my hill to die on. He's sulking and now he's out and refusing to answer my calls, so he basically started the silent treatment.
Is it normal that my father still hits me even as an adult? Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I'm sending me on Instagram. When I was a kid and I got in trouble, my dad would hit me. I always knew to expect it, so it wasn't a really big deal. But of course, I would do my best to stay out of trouble. Sometimes he would use a belt and sometimes he would slap me across the face. The slapping was the worst part. From the ages of 10 to 12, I didn't really get hit because I never got in trouble. When I turned 14, things started getting rough. I wanted to date boys and my dad was not having it. So his form of punishment sometimes was even taking food away from me. This happened on 2 occasions when I was 14 and I almost ran away because of it. I know most of you are thinking that my mom should have stepped in, but my mom was pretty afraid of my dad too. Sometimes I feel like my parents have brainwashed me into thinking that what my dad is doing is fine. The sad part is that I'm now 20 and my dad still hits me from time to time. I do have to say my father has always been there for me. He's provided me with a great life and a good education. And it's not like he would just hit me out of nowhere. It was only when I got in trouble and for specific reasons. But I do think he needs to stop it because I'm 20 now. Here's where things get really messy. I just got engaged and my fiance hates my father. Follow for part 2. Is it normal that my father still hits me as an adult? Now that I'm 20 and engaged, I told my fiance about what my father did. Like I said, my father wouldn't just hit me out of nowhere. He would only do it when he was punishing me and for specific reasons. But my fiance loathes my father. He thinks it's abuse and that it wasn't a normal thing for me to have to endure as a child, especially as an adult. And I've only come to realize that what my dad is doing is probably wrong because of my fiance. Before that, I never had anybody in my life tell me that what my dad was doing was wrong. But here's what happened. My fiance and I were cooking in my parents' kitchen. My dad must have been in a really bad mood because he comes into the kitchen and says, "If you don't clean up this mess, I'm gonna show your fiance how I slap the shit out of you." My father had never shown that side of him in front of my fiance. But as soon as those words came out of my father's mouth, my fiance turned to him and said, "You will never put your hands on her again." Then my dad said, "That's my daughter and I can do whatever I want." My fiance asked me to leave with him and I did. My mom called us and begged us to come back, but my fiance said no. Part 3 is up.